What's going on, guys? This is Empty Box, and today we're going to be taking a look at the first DLC package for Assetto Corsa, known as the Dream Pack, which adds in 10 brand new cars as well as one brand new track, which just so happens to be a laser scan version of the Nurburgring Nordschleife. Not like it's really important or anything like that. It's not like people have been anticipating this for a very long time. Not like it's a popular track or anything. I mean, nobody's heard of that place, right? Right? And here's where somebody's raging in the comment section now because they don't understand sarcasm. Yeah. For those of you guys out there who want to just go ahead and skip to the driving bit, go to this timestamp that you see mentioned on screen. That's where I'll start driving. But what I'm going to do otherwise is take a look in the showroom at the 10 brand new cars. I'm going to do it in the showroom because I want to leave something to the imagination for you guys, as well as the fact that the showroom just looks awesome and these cars are just sexy beasts. So anyways, let us begin. And for the record, I'm actually going in reverse order from my least favorite car in the DLC to my favorite car in the DLC, which we will be taking around the Nurburgring, of course. Now, of course, as always, whenever you do a countdown, opinions will vary. You will have different cars. You will like cars that I don't like, and so on and so forth. But as my least favorite car in the DLC pack, I have the Alfa Romeo 4C, which actually I was expecting to like, but it just kind of comes across as boring, bland, and soulless. It doesn't handle so amazingly that it's really fun to drive because it handles like a giant go-kart. It doesn't have enough power, obviously, where you're always just constantly struggling to control to tame the beast, you know. And at the same time, it doesn't handle poor enough that it's fun to drive because it handles poorly. It just kind of feels generic, bland, and boring. Up next, I have the Alfa 155 V6 Ti Dtm, which, well, honestly, I'm not a huge fan of. It's just not a very fun car to drive. This is the first all-wheel drive car within Assetto Corsa, and that's probably why I don't find it as much fun to drive. However, it does have competitors, which is personally something that I find very important. I like to see that, and that does make things better. Even though it's personally not my favorite car, this car does match up with the E30 M3 DTM specification, as well as the Mercedes 190e Evo 2 that's also included in this first DLC package. So I like the addition. I just am not a huge fan of this car, honestly. Up next on my list, I have the Corvette C7 R, which I'm just not a huge fan of. Much like the Ferrari 458 GT2, it feels very stale. It just kind of feels hover car-ish. I never really feel connected to the car. Yeah, I'm just not a huge fan of these cars within Assetto Corsa. If you like the 458 GT2, you're probably going to like this car as well. If you don't like the 458 GT2, you're probably not going to like this car. It really is that simple. Although I will say this car is beautiful. From here on, I actually quite like all of the cars. The first three, not really so hot on, but the next set of cars, I quite enjoy. The Mclaren P1, it's ridiculous. That's the only way to describe it. This thing is just mind-blowing. It really is mind-blowing. Driving the LaFerrari when it first came out for Assetto Corsa, it just felt like, yeah, the car's ridiculously fast down the straightaway, but then you get to the corners and it still feels like you have to kind of trundle through them a little bit. Whereas this car, it's super glued to the ground even with the street tires, which are actually the only compound I've driven with this car, because you don't need more grip because it still has that much grip. This car should not be able to do the things that it does. And no, that's not me complaining about the physics or anything like that. It's me saying that there's a reason why people are saying that these cars are just ridiculous. This thing really shows why these cars are absolutely ridiculous. Next up, we have the Nissan Gt-R Gt3, which for you guys who didn't know is actually rear-wheel drive. This is probably actually my favorite driving GT3 car within Assetto Corsa because, well, it's not the one that's totally numb and boring and lifeless. This car actually feels like it has a little bit of life to it. It has a little bit of instability. It's a little bit tricky to drive. And that's why I like it. It's just a fun car to drive by GT3 standards. And it's also pretty dang fun to just blow by everybody down the straightaway, and there's nothing they can do about it because this car is just ridiculously fast down a straightaway, which, for you guys who watched the Bathurst 12-hour race earlier this year, is realistic. Up next, I have the Mercedes-Benz 190e Evo 2 DTM, which, as I mentioned with the Alfa 155, is a direct competitor with that Alfa, as well as the BMW E30 M3 DTM spec. It's a fun car to drive. It's got those wonderful 90s tires that have grip, but they don't have grip, so you can still squirm around and slide, but you're not constantly sliding. There's still actually grip there. A little bit of downforce, not a whole lot of power. There's a reason why these cars are becoming increasingly popular within sim racing, because they're just fun cars to drive. They really are. There's going to be the inevitable comment asking me to compare this version of the car to the Race Room Racing Experience version of this same car. And I'll say this, I prefer the driving here in Assetto Corsa, however I prefer the immersion in the Race Room Racing Experience version of the car. I'd say they're about even, but I do prefer driving in this, if only they could actually get the sounds somewhat sorted and sounding good. Up next, my most anticipated car within this DLC package, the Mclaren F1 Gtr. Yeah, it's a Mclaren F1 race car. Not much more needs to be said about that, although I will say the only reason this car isn't number one on this list is because of something I'll talk about when I get to another car that's just a little bit ahead on this list. But I will say this, the cockpit in this car is absolutely fantastic, and yes, of course, it makes you feel like the absolute king of the world, because, yes, a central seating position. More cars should have that because it just makes things awesome. My third favorite car within this DLC package is the Alfa Romeo Gta, which is a car that has surprised a lot of people judging by the reaction on the forums. But really, it's not surprising. Front engine, rear-wheel drive, 1960s tires, lightweight. What more do you need? You don't need fancy hybrid systems. You don't need active aero. You don't need modern slick tires. You just need a nice, fun, simple car to drive. Honestly, I think if this car had something to race with it, a competitor, something maybe like a Lotus Cortina or something close to that, I'd have a lot more fun with this car. But this car's just fun to drive, and perhaps the car that I feel most connected with within Assetto Corsa. My second favorite car in this DLC package is the Sauber Mercedes C9, which is probably the most difficult car to drive in Assetto Corsa. You know, some people are going to inevitably say the Lotus Renault 98T, but that thing, the turbo takes forever to spool up, whereas this car, the turbo spools up fast enough that the power just kind of comes on suddenly, but it doesn't come on so fast that it's basically a naturally aspirated car. It's tricky to drive, it's a beast, it's ridiculously fast, there's a huge amount of downforce. Yeah. It is the freaking Sauber Mercedes C9. I don't need to say much more than that. I also really appreciate the Redline GTP mod throwback skin that they included, because that's just a cool little touch of nostalgia. I will say this though, the one reason that this car, as well as the McLaren F1 GTR, didn't take the number one spot in the DLC for me, I just don't have the same connection to the tires through the force feedback that I get with some of the other cars. I kind of find it a little bit difficult to feel through the wheel if the car is sliding or if it isn't, which, yes, that's something to do with force feedback settings, but I haven't found something that I'm really happy with those two cars in particular, because they do use a similar compound tire. Honestly, though, if I do figure it out, this car is going to be like the best car in Assetto Corsa, hands down, because it's just such a monster, and it's so beautiful. It's yes, you can never go wrong with Group C, ever. That leaves just one car, and that car is now my favorite within Assetto Corsa, the BMW M235i Racing. Yes, I did just put this car ahead of a Group C legend. Yes, I did put this car ahead of the legendary F1 GTR. Yeah, that's probably blasphemy, but for some reason I just feel like this car is right. I just feel connected to it. I feel immersed. I like it. I enjoy it. It has enough power, but not too much. But it has good handling, but not too good of handling. I don't know. I honestly don't know why I like this car, because I wasn't expecting to like this car as much as I do. But I like this car a lot. So let's go ahead and drive it. Hello again to those of you guys who have just rejoined us. We're going to be driving the BMW M235i Racing, which is my favorite car within this DLC package. And we're going to be driving around a Nurburgring Nordschleife set to a heavy fog weather condition, as well as a green track grip setting. So with that out the way, hammer down. The opening segment of this track never gets old. Such tremendous flow between corners. You know, the details in the road, the camber in the road. Just perfect. Anyways, BMW M235i Racing. It is an M235i turned into a race car. A relatively tame race car. Basically some racing bits thrown on. Roll cage added in, interior removed and everything like that. This is not a 500 horsepower beast or anything like that. It's a relatively tame car. But here on this track, it is a peanut butter jelly combination confirmed. Is this thing was made for this track. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, I do believe this car was actually made for its own cup class within the VLN series, which races here. Could be wrong on that. Could have been built for a series that BMW was running themselves, but I think it was built for the cup class in the VLN series. One thing is for sure, I would expect it to have been built for this track. You know those crafty Germans, they sure love their Nurburgring. Who can blame on that? Not gonna lie, it's not my favorite track in the world, but it's definitely a heck of a lot of fun. It's definitely a challenging track with a great amount of flow that's just fun in this day and age where everything has to have 18 miles of runoff and 10 mile an hour or 10 mile long straights into a hairpin and garbage circuit design and things like that. And that right there is the most difficult corner on the course in my opinion. I absolutely hate that corner. I just don't get it. I can't find the line through there. It just never makes any sense. It always seems like no matter what I try, I end up in the wall or going what feels like all too slowly through there. But really, this car really impresses me. Now, for those of you guys who skipped through the cars portion of this video, I just feel like I have a better communication with the car itself than some of the other cars. No, this isn't necessarily the car I was expecting to like the most. No, this wasn't the car in terms of performance and what the car itself is I like the most, but from the driving and the whole package, hands down, clear-cut, the winner in this package for me. You know, some people think I hate Assetto Corsa or I think it sucks. No, I like it. I just want it to be more like this all the time, and less like some of the cars I don't like within this game. So I think it can be, and if it can provide experiences like that, as we barely keep it on the road, more consistently, yeah, it's going to be a good package, especially with all the modability. He shoots, he scores! I need that sound effect to come up every time I get to the carousel, because with the other versions of the track, which I'll start talking about the track a little bit more here later on, I always kind of feel like it's a 50-50 chance. Which, when you do miss the carousel, it's highly embarrassing. And here's my favorite section of the track. My favorite corners right here, actually. Just love this section. Set it up to come back to the right, over the curb. There you go. And then here is a corner with the older versions of the track that are just impossible. Here it actually makes some sense though. And I actually don't wreck half the time through there. Of course, this is laser scan for the highest level of accuracy and detail within the road. So you can be assured that it is accurate. I have to say, the other night I was looking up YouTube videos of this car at this track, and I actually ended up finding a lap from the start of the 24-hour race of the Nurburgring on board one of these cars, and the lap time was actually exactly the same as what I turned, discounting the Grand Prix circuit, the endurance layout, basically, which is also available here in Assetto Corsa. But the lap time matched up, the way the car was driven matched up. It really did look like everything was the way it should be. Which honestly, you know, in any sim, not just Assetto Corsa, you can't say that about every car. That's certainly the case. But really, I do like this car. Again, anybody who thinks I hate Assetto Corsa, you're silly. You can say bad things about the games you like and still like the games, okay? It's, yeah. Long straightaway is long. So let's kick it up to 8th gear and get that MPG rolling in. Yeah, so told you guys this wasn't a super race car or anything like that. It does have an 8-speed automatic gearbox, paddle shifted. Anyways, here's our first really timed lap here in this video. I'm already messing things up. Let's see how close I can get to my personal best in this configuration, which is a 740 flat. So hopefully I don't go like really slow, because that would just be embarrassing. I'll let you guys know how fast I can go around here. Now whether or not that's fast is open for debate, but really this track is orders of magnitude higher up, better quality than what's already out there for Assetto Corsa. You know, the mod version of the track, which, you know, that version of the track has been converted for a very, very, very long time, and over the years it's had a lot of work done to it by people in the community, but I mean this in the nicest way possible. I appreciate the work that a lot of those individuals have put into that track, but it's putting lipstick on a pig. You know, it's a turd. It's always going to be a turd, no matter how much polish you add. You know, really, I think the only reason that track was still around for as long as it was is simply the fact that this track is massive. You know, it's 22.8 kilometers, I believe. You know, it's not a small project, and for somebody to do that for free, you know, as a mod, probably not something that you're going to expect to happen and be done in fantastic quality. And there was the Simbin version of this track that was available in GTR Evolution, but with the whole conversion things and policy on that, it just never really ended up catching on, even though it really is a much better version of the track than what was available in the community and what is available in Assetto Corsa and the third-party mods side of things. But this is still much better than that. It's a whole nother planet. Like, honestly, with the road surface being the way it is in that version of the track, I can't stand to drive anything faster than probably a car like this or a Porsche Cup car. You know, faster through the corners, that is, because it just doesn't work out. The surface just isn't fitting for faster cars, whereas here, I actually took the Sauber C9 out, and yeah, it's a little bit too fast for the track. The car doesn't stretch its legs out ever, but it's still drivable. You know, every corner is a corner, just like a regular corner, rather than watch out for this seam in the track, basically, because there's just not enough detail within the road mesh. You know, the I guess you'd say middle section of the track. I'm not sure of the corner's name. I'll point it out next time I go by, but there's a corner which I could never get right with any sort of consistency with that converted version of the track, ever. Just, the car would would just never stay on the track. It's like, if you miss a little bit too far one way, you get massive understeer and you go into the wall on the right side of the track. Whereas if you go a little bit too far to the left, a little bit too far to the inside of the corner, you're so far to the inside of the corner that you basically end up clipping the curb, which sends you over into the right side of the track, into the wall again. You know, because it doesn't have that flow, you know. This might sound kind of strange, but 2 for 2. Yeah, buddy. You know, you can kind of tell when things are in the right place when they actually flow together, because generally these things are built in a way that makes sense. You know, even corners that try and catch you off guard still usually make sense from a layout perspective. That's pretty sloppy. Yeah, here's the next corner. This corner I could never get right with the other version of the track. Here it's just like any other corner. And through this section, basically, in that version of the track, you're catching airtime with pretty much everything, because you know these elevation changes are so sharp that they become ramps. It's like, I know cars go airborne several times around here, but off of this next one, you could actually launch a car into outer space. Whereas here, it's just kind of a little bit of a crest, a little bit of an elevation change. Nothing too horrendously X Games. Oh yeah, this lap definitely hasn't been that good. But I guess any lap that you survive is a good lap, right? So again, we'll wait till we get up to 150 miles an hour, which is as fast as this car will end up going. Then we'll just put it in 8th gear and just cruise around because we can. See if we can hit 151. We're in uncharted territories. Oh, gotta get it in a right window to be absolutely perfect. You can cruise along in top gear and not lose any speed. For some reason, I don't think they even try that in the real world. You get so much better fuel efficiency, man, and add an extra lap to your fuel tank. Oh, actually, that lap wasn't that far off. So I just toss it in the wall. Okay. Seems legit. Car's driving just fine, though, so we just scraped it. We took the right side mirror off. Weight reduction modification on track. I also really like having the corner names app, which is included by default over in the app toolbox. Because I really would like to actually learn the corner names, although I know I can't pronounce probably 3/4 of them, but at least I can know what they kind of look like. Freaking umlauts, man. How do they work? Yeah, this track has definitely provided much more fun than I expected it to. You know, again, I think like pretty much everybody, you know, you like the track, you respect what the track is, you understand it, but maybe not your favorite track. I know for some people this is the only track they ever need, and they'll never play anything else again because track day, bro. But, no, that's not me, but definitely a lot more enjoyable than I expected it to be. You know, especially before release, I was kind of concerned that with the way Assetto Corsa handles bumps, which it's always seemed to me that things just kind of have too much rigidity and they don't really absorb bumps, they just kind of smash into them. I was kind of concerned about that, of course, with this being a very bumpy track. I'm pleasantly surprised. I suppose I probably should keep it through 5th through there, but again, at least we survived that stupid corner. This car is so much fun to drive, though. This is so much a revelation to Assetto Corsa for me. It's like this car, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it just so happens that I got lucky with my force feedback settings with this car in particular, but I like it. I like it a lot. If only we could get a skin pack going on and have much better skins. Unfortunately, I will say this car has terrible, terrible skins out of the box. I do know that, you know, there's obviously the BMW ones, which I'm fine with those looking like the way they look. Which, for you guys who know what the art car I think it is, or maybe it's not an art car, maybe it's just a really ugly car somebody made really ugly for the sake, but yeah, that... But again, that's a really trivial gripe that's easily fixed in the grand scheme of things. That and the sound, but sound in Assetto Corsa in general sucks. Like, seriously, this is unheard of. I've made the carousel probably like on my last 10 laps. That's a new personal combination record. I've never done that many laps in a row where I've actually hit it. If there's a corner anywhere in the world that's embarrassing when you miss, it is the carousel. Set up to the left here. There we go. But too aggressive on the power coming out of there. Like, I actually enjoy that corner now. When beforehand, every single time I got to it, I was like, oh, okay, here we go again. Let's just try and survive this stupid, stupid corner. That's probably not the best way to go about that. This is another corner which I've always felt was really strange. I don't know, maybe it's just because I really learned this track within Gran Turismo. Gran Turismo 4 was really the track where I actually started to really learn the track and where the corners go and the lay of the land, which is definitely much more accurate than the various versions that have been available for Sims throughout the years, but I just never got along with that version. The Gran Turismo version's okay, but it's Gran Turismo. You know, it doesn't have the same fidelity in the physics and the driving itself. So it's never really as much fun for me, but gotta say, I do like I've had a good lap, so let's not screw it up. $742.8. Oh boy, didn't I run a 742.8 last time? I swear to goodness. I feel like that's a good lap too. Well, I'm gonna just go ahead and keep on driving, but I'm gonna stop the video here just for my own sanity. So hope you guys enjoyed. Bye.